Yeah, what's up, everybody? Once again, you're locked in the dungeon. I am Frank Red. How you doing out there? Apologize for being a couple of minutes late, but I forgot my glasses, and gotta have my glasses because otherwise I may not be able to read all of your wonderful comments, and I certainly did not want that to happen. I'm feeling good physically, mentally, sharp as ever. I'm off tomorrow, as many of us are, in celebration of one of the greatest Americans in our history, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. You might have some time to reflect on what the day means if you want to. I don't think it's grandiose to say that if it wasn't for the contributions of him and so many other people, I probably wouldn't be in the situation that I'm in now. So I thank Dr. King and all of the wonderful people who have fought and committed their lives for the rights of others. Makes me want to be a better person, no doubt about that. My name is Frank Red. How you doing? If you didn't know, this is the In the Dungeon Show. I welcome you and I thank you for taking your time to check us out. We think we're building something. We are really strong on content. We cover sports. Any sport is fair game. We focus primarily on basketball and football and baseball during baseball season, but we talk about everything. It's all good. I'm a hip hop head, so we definitely like to mix in hip hop as well. I'm also an artist, so I got music out there. And we also like to talk about movies. So I write movies. I go to the movies basically every week. So if there's something hot out there that I haven't seen, inform me. Or we can talk about something that I might have seen as well. As I said, it's great to talk to you because this is a full show. We always have more than enough to talk about, but some weeks we don't have time to get everything in. That might be the case this week because it's so full of interesting topics. At the top, I want to talk about the NFL playoffs and some of the predictions that I made turned out correctly and some did not. Let's start with today, though. The Philadelphia Eagles held on to beat the Los Angeles Rams 28-25. They now host the NFC Championship game in Philly. They take on the Washington Commanders, which is going to be a really, really competitive game. I got the Eagles, but there's a lot to talk about there. I mean, the subplots involving Saquon Barkley. How could the Giants ever let that guy go? I mean, literally one of the best running backs of his era, and he's starting to creep into that all-time great running back list as well. This is one season. He's had many great seasons, but imagine if he comes back next year and has another good season. I think we'll look at him a little differently. The same can be said for the great Derrick Henry, who unfortunately lost to the Buffalo Bills. The Baltimore Ravens lost 27-25. And I was going for Lamar Jackson. I really was. Not that I don't want Buffalo to succeed. Now that the game is over, Buffalo, go do your thing. All right. I'm not rooting for Kansas City, but I'm not rooting against them either. You know, if they win it and put themselves in a position to do something that no other team in the history of the NFL has done, which is win a three-peat, it's all good. But if they lost, it would not bother me one bit. I didn't want to wake up tomorrow morning and hear sports talk shows or listening to overnight radio talking about Lamar Jackson choking and not being up to snuff. It was not about Lamar Jackson. That dude is literally one of the best quarterbacks ever to play. He went out there and he played well enough to win. And unfortunately, his teammate had a tough day. That's just how it is. And that's the essence of sports. I got a story I'm going to talk to you about. I don't know if I talked about it throughout the years, but losing tough games, it never goes away. Never. Decades, you still remember how it feels to lose a tough game. Reflecting on Dan Campbell yesterday, talk about a guy who you want to play for. He's never dismissive of the press. Never. All those tears that were coming from his eyes, those were to protect his players. He was representing his players. Those are real emotions, man. I can relate to it so much. And why did he feel that way? Know why he felt that way? Because he knows that the likelihood of them getting to that point next year, as talented as they are, it's not guaranteed. Probably going to lose his offensive coordinator, maybe his defensive coordinator, and just football happens. Nobody expected Jared Goff to play as poorly as he did. It happens. No one's going to blame Jared Goff for that loss. You can if you want to, but blame him for it. But congratulate him for some of the wins that got him there also. It's a team sport. It sucks. It's a team sport. With regards to the Philadelphia Eagles and the LA Rams, if there's a better football coach in the NFL than Sean McVay, I don't know who he is. Sean McVay does more with less than any coach in the NFL, to me. And I think the other coaches know it. I think that the fans know it. That guy is a brilliant football coach. He loses coordinators damn near every year. Does not matter. The Rams are tough, and Philly is lucky to get away with a victory. Now, I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks. I'm going to say it again. For 49er fans out there listening to the program, if you want to get a bead on where Brock Purdy is as a quarterback, what he should make, so on and so forth, look at Jalen Hurts. That's who he is. That's his level of quarterbacking play. Jalen Hurts is not that A1 level. He's a solid B plus that you can win with. He makes enough plays. And I think 49er fans, that's where you are with Brock Purdy. He's not in that upper echelon of quarterbacks in the NFL. So when I hear people talking about $60 million, $70 million, that's loony talk. No way in hell would I pay Brock Purdy that kind of money. But when you look at Jalen Hurts' contract, 100 to 125 guaranteed million. That's his contract. That's what Brock Purdy needs to be. So I want Philly to win at this point. I do. It might be Josh's year. What a great player. Buffalo's had their adversity for decades, and Josh Allen might be that guy. No one can hate on Josh Allen. He is awesome. But I thought this was Lamar's year. It didn't happen. And I thought they played well enough to win. I think when you look at the game, Buffalo really didn't stop Baltimore. Baltimore stopped themselves. Those are the toughest games when you know that you could have played better. So, we're going to talk NFL. We can do that. Obviously, tomorrow night, you have the National Championship game between the Ohio State Buckeyes versus the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I'm going to go with Notre Dame. I like Notre Dame. Ohio State is definitely the favorite. Their fans are not going to be happy if they don't win. I don't particularly like that. I'm like, who could actually play sports and have those level of expectations for a team? You know how hard it is to win? You know, nobody scripts losing the ball, turning the ball over, throwing a pick. You know, it's tough. Somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose tomorrow. I think Notre Dame's going to win because I think that the quarterback, I don't know, it's something about the quarterback that I like. Even though Howard is basically a carbon copy of Leonard, Notre Dame's quarterback. Should be a good game. I don't expect a high-scoring game, but I think it's going to be very, very competitive. You want to talk about that? We can do so. We're going to talk about the Golden State Warriors. We're going to talk about the Sacramento Kings. Now, the Kings are now 9-2 under the guidance of Doug Christie. After 10 games, the dust has settled. You can draw some conclusions after 10 games. And when I look at the Kings, I say, well, are they playing much? Are they doing anything different than they did under Mike Brown? Not really. What they're doing is they're playing a lot harder. They're being more consistent. They're dialed in. And I think that happens when you like your coach. When you really want your coach to succeed. I can't explain it, but there's something inside of you that says, you know what? I'm not going to let this guy down. I'm not going to let this woman down. That's what I see from the Sacramento Kings. Now, one of the things that I think is also apparent is that players are playing less tight. You know, there's not as much angst. Keegan Murray is playing better. Malik Monk is playing better. You know, De'Aaron Fox, I don't know if he's playing better. You know, he's an all-star caliber player. Sabonis is probably playing as consistently as he was. DeMar DeRozan has stepped his game up also over the past 10. So I'm happy for the Sacramento Kings fans and the team as well. They're tough. They really are. So I'll continue. Let's go out first and talk to Kitchen Handy. Andy, what's up? He says Kings win and will win Wednesday. Who they play on Wednesday? Play the Warriors on Wednesday? Hey, man. The fact that the Kings were not playing well, that's on them. I've said a million times, they have a top 10 lineup. You know, the onus is on the players, not necessarily on the coaches. And particularly at that level, when you are a pro, go out and do your job. Kings are balling right now. Good for them. As for the Golden State Warriors, they got a tough game tomorrow against the Boston Celtics. I don't know what to expect. They're going to be undermanned. Boston's going to have a lot more talent. I don't think Draymond's probably playing, but I think Stephen's going to play. Is Stephen going to play tomorrow? I don't know. I haven't looked at the injury reports. I hope he plays tomorrow. If he plays, it'll be fun. If he doesn't, they have no chance. But I wanted to talk about some observations that I've noticed about the Warriors. And I actually said this in a tweet. Steve Kerr has not come out with a megaphone and said that I'm making some changes, but he's made a few changes. He's letting Dennis Schroeder play more high pick and roll, which is creating more driving lanes for Dennis, giving him more confidence. He's making his mid-range, as opposed to making a pass and go stand in the corner beyond the three-point line. So the Warriors haven't changed their offense, but they've definitely modified it a little bit. So Dennis Schroeder can be more effective, and it's helped the team. It really has. I'm excited to see the Warriors when Jonathan Kuminga comes back. because, I've been talking about it also. There are times when Andrew Wiggins looks like a top 10 two-way player in the NBA. Last night was one of those nights where you just go, who is this guy? He was awesome. I mean, if he can play like that every night, are you kidding me? I think what you would see is actually less Draymond, more Jonathan Kuminga, more Wiggins, more Trace Jackson Davis. It gives Curry a lot more versatility when Andrew Wiggins is playing really well. Another thing that I noticed, and a lot of fans might not see this, is GP2 matters. I mean, he's an all-around player that contributes to winning. He can do things that no other player on the Warriors can do. Picking up full court, playing pressure defense without fouling, getting taps, offensive rebounds. He's a winning player. He really is. So I saw some good things last night from the Warriors against a team that's won 6 games this year. But guess what? They won 6 games. They're going to beat some teams. Washington is not that bad. They're really not. They're inexperienced and they make a lot of mistakes. But if you look at that Washington team and you think they don't have talent, they will beat you. But they struggle with consistency like all young teams. They got blasted tonight by the Kings. And in true Jordan Poole fashion, it's hard for him to be consistently good. But his talent was on display last night. 38 points. I mean, 38 points and making some Steph Curry type shots. He was on one last night. What you would expect coming back to Chase. He likes it here. He loves his teammates. This organization drafted him and put him on the road to success. And I like what I saw from Jordan last night. I really did. I think the Washington Wizards are actually one player away from being decent. Not good, but decent. So that was a good win by the Warriors, in my opinion. My man Keys says, what's up, Frank? Jaden Daniels, best rookie quarterback ever, and reminds me of a faster Mahomes. I was thinking about that because that quote has been out there a lot. And I can't think of a rookie quarterback that has ever been better than him. I can't. And the thing I like about Jaden Daniels is it's not too big for him. Even when he won the Heisman Trophy, nothing is really too big for this guy. He was raised the right way. He's real low key, very talented. I'm not somebody who jumps on the hype machine real quick though. He's having a good rookie year. Presumably he'll be able to play at a high level. But I like to take a look at players 2-3 years down the road. Because of the rookie salary cap. He's changed the horizons of that franchise overnight. And it would not surprise me if they beat Philly next week. I'm picking Philly, but when the narrative wants to be written, you can't do anything about it. That's why we love sports. Because sports are so unpredictable. No one could have imagined the success that Jaden Daniels would have this year. Think about last year. Dan Quinn's defense got ripped a new one. And all of a sudden he's out the door. What happened to Dallas last year? They had a bad day. Just like Detroit, they had a bad day. It happens. Dan Quinn has gone to Washington, been very much the leader that they needed. No nonsense guy, lets people do their jobs, and has turned that franchise around. I'm happy because Washington was my childhood team. Growing up in New York as a kid, all of my friends, all the neighborhood, everybody in the neighborhood liked the Dallas Cowboys because the Giants sucked and the Jets were terrible. So everybody liked the Dallas Cowboys. I didn't like the Dallas Cowboys. I liked the Washington team. And, you know, I can go back to all of the Joe Gibbs championships, all of the great players, the Art Monks of the world, the Jake Scotts, you know. So to see that franchise have success, it's fun for me to see. But I want Saquon and I want Jalen Hurts to win a Super Bowl. That would be an incredible story because outside of Kansas City, you might not believe this, but winning a Super Bowl is special. What Kansas City has been able to do, win 3 Super Bowls in 5 years, is amazing. And who's to say they won't do it again this year? The question then becomes, if KC wins the championship, will Travis Kelce retire? Not a bad time to retire if that's what you want to do. Probably already decorated as the greatest tight end of all time. I don't know if he's the most talented tight end of all time, but the numbers don't lie. He's certainly right there. And, you know, he's 35, 36 years old. You know that he would be working for a network. I mean, you know that. You know he'll be all over commercials and killing the podcast game right now. And oh, by the way, you know, his girlfriend's Taylor Swift, and there's all types of rumors about what they might want to do. You know, they're getting older. They might want to have children. I don't know. None of my business. But life takes over. It'd be a great story. Are the Cavs title contenders? Their record is amazing. I don't think so. I think they're good. They're really good, like you said, by the record. They're a good defensive team. But I don't see anybody on that team that's unstoppable. I don't. Not Donovan Mitchell, certainly not Garland. I think Mobley might be able to turn into that type of player within the next couple of years, but I don't see anybody on that team that's unstoppable. So I don't think they're going to get there. I think Boston, the Knicks, and surprisingly, Milwaukee. If Milwaukee gets someone, I think they can make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't even think Cleveland's going to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't. The other thing about Cleveland is I got to see a little more nastiness. And I have the same problem with OKC. OKC is incredibly talented, but when you think about the playoffs, it's all half-court execution. That's what it is. And teams can take away some of what you like to do. You know? So, and my hat goes off to Cleveland. Kenny Atkinson, he's done a phenomenal job changing the mindset of those guys in terms of passing the ball and playing for each other. I just think it's going to take a little more time. That's all. I think Boston has the ability to turn it on like no other team in the Eastern Conference because they're champions. So they know what it feels like to be in those moments where you got to go out there and just make plays. I think Cleveland will definitely win the opening round series, maybe another one. But I don't think that they are going to come out of the East. What do you think, Keith? I don't think that they're quite ready for that. Why are the Lakers so mediocre with 2 of the top 10 players in the NBA? Well, that's debatable. They don't have 2 of the top 10 players in the NBA. No way. The Lakers have, I would say they have 2 of the top 20 players in the NBA, but not the top 10. Here's the thing. When I look at coaches, right, and sometimes I can be proven wrong, but to me, it's hard for somebody who was not a defensive player to coach defense. It's almost, I mean, because the players look at you and go, huh? I mean, I was watching some of that Lakers game against the Clippers tonight, and the Clippers basically put the Lakers in a headlock. You know, they didn't play tough. The Lakers don't play tough. They're talented, and if they make shots, then fine. But it's, I mean, I look at JJ Redick, and JJ Redick is very competent as a basketball coach. He can design plays. He can do all the things that all these analyticals love. Oh, yeah, they out of timeout. He's great out of timeout. You know what? That don't mean anything to me. When I look at Ty Lue, I look at somebody who's getting in every player's face and saying, you know what? This is what I need from you. Think about the Clippers. It doesn't matter who's on the court playing for the Clippers. They look the same because their mentality and their covenants are locked in, and they're a defensive team. I don't get that from JJ Redick. I don't. I got it a little bit from J. Kidd in Dallas. You know, if you ask me right now, if Dallas is healthy and they're playing OKC in a 7-game series, I'm picking Dallas. I'm picking Dallas because I know J. Kidd's mentality. I know OKC is very talented, and SGA is a better player this year than he was last year. There's no doubt about it. I love how he plays. He's 6'6". His usage rate has gone down. He can catch and shoot a lot better than he could last year. He's really improved. But in the playoffs, when you're not going to get as many fouls, you're going to have to get some inside buckets. What's going to happen then? I think Hartenstein helps them. Chet is a tough, skinny guy. But, I mean, what's his mentality going to be like coming back from what is a really tough injury? The NBA is wide open. Boston has, what, 12, 13 losses this year? They're not really the same team. You know, I think last year they kind of had a rallying cry. They wanted to perform for their coach, and they went out and they did. They made a lot of plays. Right now, they've kind of fell in love with just shooting threes. That's not how you win. You win with defense. They're not the defensive team that they were last year. Now, Porzingis hasn't played a whole lot of games, but they're beatable. They're vulnerable. Yeah, man. It's going to be interesting. I want to talk about the 49ers a little bit also. There was a story out there. I think I looked at one of Larry Kruger's posts, and I was kind of on this path during the season. Talanoa Hufanga, he's probably not going to come back to the 49ers. I don't think they can afford him. And I mentioned it last week, and it's becoming more and more evident that, you know, he's going to be priced out of their market. And as Larry said, I think a great landing spot for him would be in Pittsburgh. He trains with Palomalo. He's close. He's a hard-hitting safety who can tackle but can't cover real well. He's perfect for Pittsburgh. You know, that translates to East Coast football, and they're going to pay him. Pittsburgh doesn't have, you know, some of the salary cap restraints that the 49ers have. So I think he's out the door. And I think that when you consider that the 49ers have Jair Brown and Mustafa, they got two guys who can play pretty good safety. To a large degree, the 49ers' challenges in the offseason will be how well they negotiate the salary cap. And I think they need to make some tough decisions early. As opposed to last year, trying to convince players that they're not worth what they're asking for. I hate that because, you know why I hate that? Because you got a lot of agents who got websites and you know, they got friends and organizations, and a lot, and not all, certainly not all, but some of these agents, I mean media agents, are talking to their fans, trying to convince their fans that these players are not that good and they shouldn't be paid X amount of dollars. I don't like that. As an organization, make a decision. Make a decision and live with your decision. If you don't want to pay somebody, let him go. Trade him. Let him go. Stop wasting time. I think that hurt the 49ers last year. And I'm lucky that there's been a lot of conversation about how they want to speed that process up with their free agents. Yeah, I'm kind of bouncing all over the place because these topics are in my head. One of the things I want to say is basketball is number one for me. I love basketball. And to watch, I had the opportunity, like many of you, to watch Michael Jordan play basketball. That was incredible. I played against Jordan twice in college. That was like, really? That was amazing. I'm going to say watching Dr. J, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, and Stephen Curry are my favorite players to watch since I've been watching basketball. To watch Stephen Curry do the things that he's doing at 36, was he 30? It's amazing. I just want you fans, and I'm sure I don't have to tell you all, because I'm sure you all know. It's amazing what this guy's doing. Some of the other players, I don't think James Harden gets enough credit. James Harden is 35, 36 years old. DeMar DeRozan. LeBron's kind of in a whole nother category himself. And I'm going to say this about LeBron. If LeBron retired this year, I would be okay with that. Sometimes I think that, not that he needs the money, but I get the sense that sometimes LeBron is just kind of holding on for money. And I know that's not the case, but when you look at his team, you're like, that team's not winning the championship. You know, LeBron's not a defender. You know, he's literally playing the game so well, and to see him leave the game playing at such a high level would be gratifying to me. Because he's not really a two-way player. He's not. Bebop Jones says, cheers, Big Red. What's up, brother? Lounge, man. I was brought up a Chicago fan. 90s basketball was different. It was different. It was different. And it's funny because I saw that we really knew. You know what I'm saying? Defense was. Remember back in the day when like you go to like your local park, your local rec YMCA. If you were a young kid, and I mean like you were a high school kid, you 15, 16, the older cats will not even let you on the court. You could not even get on the court. If they saw you coming up and they said, okay, that kid's gonna be decent, they might pick you just to play defense. You barely got a chance to shoot. Which is why I think a lot of those younger players, or players of my era, they were really good defensive players. That's what we did. You know, there were fouls. There were hard fouls. With that said, I like watching these players of today. I do. You know, they're very talented. I like what I see from the game now. I just wish that some of the players of the past were playing in this era. As good as Anthony Edwards is really good. Ant-Man would be a dominant scorer in any era. But I don't know if he has that kill gene like Jordan and Kobe had. Can you imagine a young Kobe Bryant playing in this era of basketball? 35 a game, easy. Jordan, 35, 38 a game, easy. I was watching on YouTube this week. Somebody put a clip of Jordan. Jordan's favorite shot, his best shot, was the mid post. He caught the ball like 2 feet beyond the block. He would establish a really solid base, and he would rock to his right, to get his balance, to gather, to pivot towards the lane, come to a 2-foot stop and explode 25, 28 inches in the air, find the rim, and put it in every time. Unstoppable. You could not stop that shot. Nobody has that shot. I mean, Kevin Durant kind of has some of that, where he can get to a spot and just kind of shoot over people. Kevin Durant's one of the greatest players the NBA's ever had. One of the most skilled players the game has ever seen. You know, but even he sometimes doesn't necessarily exhibit, you know, that kill gene, which is what a lot of those great players of the past had. Shaq had it. Shaq was a bully on the court. There are no real bullies on basketball. I'm not concerned. I'm not mad about that. But I'm talking about players who inflict their will. Draymond has been successful doing that, but Draymond in a different era of basketball would be a good player, but he wouldn't be, I don't think he'd be the dominant player that he is in this era. The game has changed. I'm a big Draymond fan, but the game has changed a lot. We had big guys in the past who were, you know, tough guys. Tough guys in ways that you don't see from bigger players in today's game, because players are still tough. I'm not saying they're not tough, but the game was more physical. I think it's what you're alluding to. I totally agree with you. I also wanted to highlight the Unrivaled League. And I don't want anybody to like, oh shit, Red's talking about women's. No. Stay here. And I want to talk about it for this particular reason. Because I know a lot of you have daughters out there, or you coach girls. I coach boys basketball at 4 different high schools. I coach in the Pro-Am every year in the city where I live. And now I'm coaching girls, right? And I love it because they're watching, you know, they're intense. They want the same thing that they see on television like we did as young boys. Now that they know it's achievable for them. And it's beautiful to be a part of some young ladies' journeys. I didn't watch the first Unrivaled game because I didn't know what network it was on. But I watched the clips in preparation for this show. And I got to tell you, if you don't like what you saw, you a straight up hater. I thought it was half court. It's 3-on-3 full court. I was impressed. I was very, very impressed. But I'm more impressed with the fact that women created this opportunity. They're playing and they're owners. And I don't understand the hate. Even someone like a Caitlin Clark, who I get that maybe she doesn't want to play because she didn't really have an off season. Maybe she'll play next year. But I think she might look at this and go, whoa, they were going to give me a piece of this and give me a salary? I think this is a hit. I do. I think it's a hit because women's sports is one of the few things that is still growing at a meteoric rate. Remember last year when there was this hysteria around Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese? You know what? Those young ladies have moved on to the W now. And guess what? Women's college basketball is even better. There's more competition. There's more parity. They're new stars. It's really exciting. It really is. And you don't necessarily have to get on board, but don't be a hater. Don't hate. It makes you look bad when you hate. And I don't want to bring any attention, to people who are here, presumably who are intelligent, that just have a lot of negative things to say. You're losing that battle. You're losing that one. I also wanted to go back to the Warriors for a second because, there was a lot of talk about the Warriors going out and trying to trade for Vukovic, the Chicago center. I think he would be a good fit for the Warriors, particularly for what presumably Chicago wanted in return for his services. And as the potential trade started to become more and more imminent, you started to hear some outrageous things that the Warriors had to give in return, i.e., well, Chicago's looking for a first-round pick as opposed to a second-round pick and maybe a player. I'm happy that the Warriors are like, you know what? We're not going to be bamboozled. If you literally, as an organization, Chicago wants to start over and rebuild and play your young guys, then that's fine. But we're not going to overpay for Vukovic. Maybe things will change the next couple of days because Chicago is in a tailspin right now. I think they've probably lost 4 or 5 straight games. They play the Warriors on Thursday, so that should be interesting. But I like the fact that the Warriors are not hedging their bets and showing a high level of vulnerability in the marketplace. You can't do that. You can't do that. How many teams are at 500 right now? Quite a few. The Warriors are the 10th team in the play-in. I think they'll do better than that. But going out and giving up a first-round pick, can't do that. No way. And I'm going to tell you why. Because there are a lot of talented young players in college and overseas. So if the Warriors hypothetically had the 16th pick, the true value of a 16th pick is probably like a top 8 or a top 9 pick. You could literally draft the best player in the league with the 15th or 16th pick. Because these cats are unknown and there's a lot of good players. So the Warriors are not going to give up a first round pick. That's not going to happen. It's interesting because I was thinking about this afternoon. Pods Isn't this the longest abdominal strain in the history of sports injuries? I mean, did somebody take like a butcher knife to his midsection? I mean, give me a break. I think what's going to happen, and I don't know this, I'm being a little facetious and cynical, but I think that when the trade winds start to slow down, he's going to wake up one morning and feel a lot better and be back on the court. You know, I believe that. I think February 6th is the trade deadline. I think he was one of the players on the Warriors roster that people kind of like. When that happens, generally speaking, players catch a cold. You know, they get a thigh bruise or abdominal strain or whatever the case. You know, because they don't want these players to get injured. Whether or not that's a tactic the Warriors are using, I have no idea. But it does happen. It does happen. And when you look at the young players on the Warriors who might be attractive to other teams that the Warriors are willing to give up, I don't think they want to give up pods. But I believe if they had to give pods up for Vukovic, they would do it. I think they would. I hear people talking about, well, the Warriors missed Pods' pace. Really? Can you explain that to me? Because I don't see it. I don't see it. I think he is a player who would take minutes from maybe GP2 or Moses Moody or somebody like that. But I don't think that he changes the landscape of the team. I just don't believe that. I haven't seen that. And Dennis Schroeder is starting to play better. So I want to see him on the court more. Does anybody know if Stephen Curry's playing tomorrow? Or have you heard he's not playing? I assume he is playing, but I don't know. I don't know if anybody has heard anything about that. I also wanted to say something nice about Steve Kerr. I think the highlight of Steve Kerr's year as a coach has been how he's managed Stephen Curry's minutes. I mean, when I look at, can you imagine if Thibodeau was coaching Stephen Curry? I don't care if he's 36. Can you imagine some other coaches? They run this guy into the ground. Steve Kerr, you know, is stubborn and some things I don't agree with, but I've never said he's not a good coach. He is a good coach. And one of the things, he also has compassion and empathy for his players, particularly Stephen Curry. And the way that he's managed his minutes this year, he's playing about, 32, 33 minutes a game? I think he's prolonging the guy's career. You know, I honestly do. I think he's doing a good job in that regard. He's right there, around 500, which is where they need to be. You can't be too many games below 500. You want to be above 500 going into the All-Star break. Now, the Warriors play 7 of the next 8, I believe, at Chase, but they play against good teams. You would think they could beat Chicago, but Chicago can score. You know, and the Warriors have had problems with teams that can score. So they got to be careful about that. I also wanted to highlight DeMar Hamlin, the young man who a couple of years ago we thought may have lost his life on the football field of the Buffalo Bills. To see that young man get a new lease on life and then come back and play football. This is one thing that I saw about the Buffalo Bills that I will always give them respect for. Damar Hamlin's first year, back last year, he wasn't even on the field a lot. What do you have? Maybe 10, 15 snaps a game? They didn't even play the guy a lot. And yet, he took up one of the 53-man spots. If they had cut him or said, you know what, you can't play anymore, nobody would have batted an eye who watches football. Some folks might have even applauded that decision. But Damar Hamlin came back this year and has had an outstanding year playing safety, maybe some corner for Buffalo. This is a winning football player. A ferocious tackler, don't cover all that well, but a ferocious tackler and a good, solid football player. And one of the best stories in the history of football, to me, because football is such a violent game. They love it, we love it, but it's violent. Everybody's not built for that. That young man is. Goma style. I love it. Goma style. Well, Goma style, welcome to the program, brother. I assume you've been listening. If so, you know I'm a Knick fan for life. You see the background of my show, right? In the Dungeon Show, Knicks colors. You see my cup, Knick cup. I love the Knicks. I like the team a lot. It pisses me off that Dante DiVincenzo's not on the team because I think they need him, man. They need that guy. Now, without trading Dante, I guess you don't get the cat deal done, and I get it. But Dante is another one of those primetime players that I think that they're going to need in the clutch. Josh Hart, Jalen, and Bridges, all those guys are solid. But I think they need a little more outside shooting. I don't know why Tibbs is not giving Miles McBride any minutes anymore, but I think they need a guard. And I'll be able to make a stronger assessment of my Knicks when Mitchell Robinson comes back, which I assume will happen within the next month or so, because he's going to improve their interior defense. Cat Towns is not a great defensive player. He's not. And if they're going to win their playoffs at a really high level, they have to be a defensive-oriented team. Not only on the exterior, because Bridges is good. Obviously, Anunoby is good. Hart's good. But I think they need more interior depth to help Cat. And they don't have Hartenstein anymore. So I love the Knicks. The Knicks hasn't won a championship since 1974-75. If the Knicks won a championship, I would have to go to New York and be a part of that madness, the parade. What do you think, Goma style? What do you think about the Knicks? I like them, but they got a couple of things they need to address. What do you think? I also wanted to mention that another indication that women's basketball is building. Dawn Staley signed the richest contract. She now makes $4 million a year, $25 million deal. Awesome. Big fan of hers. Gomer says, Precious Achua, Mitchell Robinson, Shamet, McBride, Payne, good bench. Well, they don't play the bench, though. None of those guys are all that consistent, though. I mean, particularly offensively. Although I saw the game in which Cameron Payne scored 16 in one quarter. That was impressive. But I think that we'll be able to see what's up when Mitchell Robinson comes back. Play the white boy Colin. He's good. Here's the problem with Colin. Here's what I think. I don't know because I don't watch as many Knicks games as I would if I was in New York. He's a point guard. I don't think he can play both positions. Can you play he and Jalen together? Because, Tibbs is all about defense. Now, it would be stereotypical to say that Colin can't play defense just based off of who he is. I haven't watched him up close in person. I watched him at Marquette. Wasn't known as a defender, but wasn't known as a sieve either. I like him. He's tearing the G League up. He's having a good season. I just think that Thibodeau he's a veteran coach. Likes to play vets. He doesn't like to play rookies. So Kolik's going to have a hard time getting on the floor, even though he's good. And even though he probably should be playing a little bit. These coaches are dogmatic in their thinking, though. When I look at Thibodeau, I think of Ime Udoka because I like Reed Sheppard. But I understand why Reed Sheppard can't get off the bench. I watched him against the Warriors, and defensively, he was a mess. Ime Udoka has built the Houston Rockets as a defensive team, and he's not going to change. And he doesn't have to change. Management's not going to say anything to him. He coaches the team how he wants to coach the team. I think the same can be said for Thibodeau as well. It's going to be interesting. I want to ask you guys a question also, because as soon as Detroit lost, people were already framing the question around, is that Jared Goff's ceiling? Can you win with him? Because he played so poorly. I'm not willing to say that. He might never win a Super Bowl. But I think he had a bad game. I just think he had a bad game. If the 49ers can get to the Super Bowl with Jimmy G, you can get to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff. He's already been to the Super Bowl. So I feel bad for the Detroit fans because this might have been their year. There are no guarantees. And they'll make the playoffs next year, but how good will they really be? We don't know. We don't know how good they're going to be. It's going to be interesting. Baltimore's going to be good. And I want to see Mark Andrews have some type of redemption. Mark Andrews has been one of the hallmarks of that Baltimore Raven team for damn near a decade. 7-8 years. To see him have the worst moments of his football career is not what I want to see. Even though likely is, a real talented tight end, I want to see Andrews have another moment because that was terrible. That was tough. And let's be honest, even though Lamar Jackson played really well in leverage moments today, when they needed him to perform at a high level when it counted, he did. There'll be some people out there will still find a way to blame for the loss and make this a Lamar versus Josh Allen conversation. And it actually has nothing to do with either one of those guys. It was all the other guys. And even though Baltimore was down, they were fine. Who doesn't think that Baltimore was going to score a touchdown when Mark Andrews fumbled? I think Baltimore was fine. About 5 or 6 minutes ago, they were running the clock out. If they go down, and score a touchdown, take the lead, I think they win. That's just me. We will never know. We will never know. Another thing I wanted to address and talk about is and I don't really talk politics on my show because most people have opinions, but they're not real informed, right? If I talk about anything, I'm really informed about it. You know, people are really emotional about politics, and only X amount actually even really know what they're talking about. A lot of people don't. They just get emotionally charged. But there's a topic that's out there, particularly over the last day or so, about Snoop Dogg, Nelly, and Rick Ross performing at some gala that Trump is having. Soulja Boy as well, I guess. People are outraged. I dare you perform at a Trump event. Wow, what's going on? They're getting a check. That's what's going on. A big fat check. You think the people who performed for Kamala Harris didn't get broke off? We gotta stop this. We gotta stop it. We gotta stop always taking sides. Do what you want to do and leave people alone. That's my thing. Hip hop has to grow up like everybody else. You know, do what you want to do. I actually have no problem with it. Would I perform there? Probably not. Probably not. But nah, probably not. But I have no problem with anybody else who would perform. I don't. It's a business transaction. That's all it is. And it's the only other thing I'll say. There's some similarities between Democrats and Republicans. We have to stop acting like there isn't, because there is. And I'm gonna leave it at that. But I think hip hop needs to stop acting like it's us against the world, because that's just not what it is. Hip hop has evolved like everything else. There are more corporate ties to hip hop music and culture than there's ever been. People wish that they could get paid to perform their art. I wish more rappers got paid, because most of them don't get paid. I've never made a dime with my music. Never. I'm gonna tell you something that's crazy though. And maybe at some point I'll have a deeper conversation about this. I put a record out a couple of decades ago. This is the God honest truth. I put a record out, me and my man, that I never made any money off of. But the record became kind of like this cult record, right? This vintage hip hop record. A vintage hip hop distributor saw the record, rated the record like 5 out of 5, right? This really good rating. The record became really popular, and they started to make phony copies of the record. There's a location in France. There's one in the United States. And as an artist, you know, you experience a lot. You know what I'm saying? You go through this mentality like, somebody likes my record. Yeah, somebody likes your record. And they're making money off of you. You haven't made a dime. I guess the point I'm making is that I have a rare record, vinyl, that's really, really popular, really rare, and kind of a vintage hip hop record in the vein of like a Big Daddy Kane or somebody like that. And they really like it. I've never made any money off of it. And it's been pirated, it's been counterfeited. People have made a lot of money off my record. You could actually look the record up and they charge like $300 for the record. $300. I don't know what to do about it. Probably nothing. But I only mention it because I think that there's so many artists who have never made any money off of their music for whatever reason. I'm one of those artists. And the fact that artists can make money performing in commercials, whatever, I think that's their own decision. I don't think anybody should get involved in what some other artist does. You know, that's my take on it. SG, I see your post and how you doing as well. I'm glad you're doing a post game, and I wish you all the best. Outstanding. Good luck. I think the last thing I want to cover is last week I came on when there was all this negativity surrounding Mike Tomlin and how, you know, the fans are just fanatical, but a lot of fans wanted to see a change in Pittsburgh. And Mike Tomlin, and I believe the Rooneys also, just shut that down. They said, fans, you know what? You're very valuable. We love you. But you don't know jack about football. Let us do this. Cheer for the team, pay your money, wear your Steeler gear, but you're not going to dictate who is our coach. That was the resounding message that came out this week. Mike Tomlin was like, yo, teams that want to interview me, contact me, save your time, save your dime. I ain't going nowhere. And then it came out that the Pittsburgh Steelers were the ones behind not allowing Tomlin to interview with Chicago. Not that he wanted to, but they wouldn't even allow it to happen. Which you would assume speaks to how much they value him as a coach. So that's that. But Mike Tomlin's human, like everybody's human. I don't think that when he reflects on what he's done for the organization and how serious he takes his job, he wants to hear a gazillion fans telling him that he sucks as a coach. But I guess that's why he makes, I don't know, $8 million, $10 million a year. I don't know what he makes, but he's highly paid to do his job. Good for him. All right, y'all. I think we covered it all. Tomorrow night we have the National Championship game between the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the Ohio State Buckeyes. Tomorrow is a historic day in our history as we celebrate the life and birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. If you read some of his work, if you read the essay he wrote when he was in the Birmingham jail, incredible stuff. I mean, he actually is one of the people who helped spark my interest in education, made me want to be smarter, made me want to go to school, inspired me to be the best person that I can be. And I can honestly say that whenever I do anything for anybody, I get more out of it watching them be happy than someone giving me something. I like doing stuff for folks to enrich their lives. And that's part of Dr. King's dream and what his aspirations were. So he's definitely impacted my life in a profound way. And I'm sure many of us listening to the program as well. No doubt about it. I want to get your name right. Let me put my glasses on. I still probably won't, and I apologize for that. Yaha? Yaha is a supporter of MLK. Thank you. One of the great Americans, no doubt about it. No doubt it. His dream continues to live on. Bebop says MLK. Love it. Key says, do you think the Niners making a mistake waiting for Salah? They might miss out on other top candidates. Urbrick signed with the Falcons today. Yeah. I mean, I had heard some stuff, again, going up, people who cover the Niners closer than I do, that he was kind of out of the running. I'm like, how can the guy be out of the running? When he was your D coordinator, he was one of the most successful D coordinators in the NFL. So how could the 49ers move on from him unless he's like, I don't know, I want to wait and see. So I don't know. SGA, how you doing? Thank you for acknowledging me. Appreciate you. All right. All right, y'all. Everybody have a great week. Enjoy tomorrow, MLK Day. Who knows? If the Warriors do something crazy or we have a great national championship game, maybe I'll jump on for an hour or two tomorrow night. In the meantime, I'm going to do my thing and get out of here. Success and getting paid is a manifestation of the whole process. If you as an individual don't do things to help other people make their lives better, as far as I'm concerned, you haven't done nothing. All right? My name is Frank Red. This is the In the Dungeon Show. Hopefully, you've hit the like button. If you like the program, follow me at Big Frank Red on Twitter, X. I don't do a very good job marketing the show. I need to do better at that. But that was my attempt to market the show. So hit the like button. Follow me on X. God bless. Bebop Jones. Everybody else, be safe. I'm out.